Welcome to another meeting of the Lorain County Commissioners, broadcast exclusively on your Lorain County Community College education station. The Lorain County Commissioners cordially invite you to see the meetings live and in person every Thursday morning. The meetings are located in the Lorain County Administration Building, located at 226 Middle Avenue in downtown Elyria. The meetings start at 9:30 a.m. on most weeks. Now, enjoy the meeting.
We could all rise for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good morning, everyone. Ronald Reagan once said, "Government does not solve problems, it subsidizes them." Ooh. Madam Clerk?
There are no scheduled appointments this morning. Under resolutions, I need a motion to approve the Job and Family Services bills for payment.
So moved. Second.
Discussion? Mrs. Vacy?
Aye.
Mrs. Blair?
Aye.
Mr. Moore?
Aye.
Investments?
So moved.
Second?
Discussion? Mrs. Blair?
Aye.
Mr. Moore?
Aye.
Mrs. Vacy?
Aye.
Appropriations?
So moved. Second.
Discussion? Mrs. Vacy?
Aye.
Mrs. Blair?
Aye.
Mr. Moore?
Aye.
Transfers?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Mr. Moore?
Aye.
Mrs. Vacy?
Aye.
Mrs. Blair?
Aye.
There are no advances or repayments this morning. Requisitions?
So moved.
Second?
Discussion? Mrs. Vacy?
Aye.
Mr. Moore?
Aye.
Mrs. Blair?
Aye.
Travel expenses?
So moved. Second?
Okay.
Whatever.
Okay.
She made the motion, I'll
Discussion?
second it. How's that?
Discussion?
No.
Mrs. Vacy?
Aye.
Mr. Moore?
Aye.
Mrs. Blair?
Aye.
Approving bills for payment?
Oh, wait a minute, on requisitions, I had some exceptions marked on there. Please make note of those exceptions.
Under requisitions?
Yes.
Okay. Approving bills for payment?
So moved.
Did I hear a second?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. Discussion? Mr. Moore?
Aye.
Mrs. Blair?
Aye.
Mrs. Vacy?
Aye.
Authorize various personal actions as indicated on the summary for employees within the jurisdiction of Lorain County Commissioners.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Mr. Moore?
Aye.
Mrs. Blair?
Aye.
Mrs. Vacy?
Aye.
Under the Commissioners, number 10, to authorize the following salary increases for various Elyria Municipal Court employees retroactive to July 28, 2002. John Zebchek and Alan Wack are bailiffs. Their biweekly rate will increase from $682.67 to $706.56. Richard Schwartz, a magistrate, biweekly rate will increase from $916.58 to $947.63. And these amounts do reflect the county's two-fifth share.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Mr. Moore?
Aye.
Mrs. Vacy?
Aye.
Mrs. Blair?
Aye.
Item 11, the Board of Commissioners will present a plaque in memory of the victims and their families on the one-year anniversary of the terrorist attacks. A memorial service and ribbon-cutting ceremony for the new Lorain County Emergency Operations Center for the Emergency 911 and Emergency Management Agencies will also be held on Wednesday, September 11, 2002, from 10 a.m. to 12 noon. In conjunction, the Board of Commissioners hereby adopt a resolution supporting the commemoration of September 11, 2001. Terrorism cannot be allowed to break the spirit of the American people. The Board of Commissioners supports the President of the United States as he works with his national security team to defend against additional attacks and find the perpetrators to bring them to justice.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion.
Are you going to have a copy of the plaque? Yeah.
I don't understand the question, Commissioner.
You got here, you're going to present a plaque in memory?
Well, the plaque will be down at the...
It's already there? Okay.
Well, actually, it's being made right now.
That's what I thought.
We'll have it in time for the
Okay.
ceremony, and when you dedicate it, we'll have it mounted
Okay.
down there. If you want a copy for up here, we could probably have duplicates of it made and have one put here in the hearing room tonight.
That might be good.
I think that's a nice idea.
Okay.
Okay, thanks, Jim.
Mrs. Vacy?
Aye.
Mrs. Blair?
Aye.
Mr. Moore?
Aye.
I'd like to authorize and approve addendums to the Wellness Block Grant and the Help Me Grow contracts for state fiscal year 2002 between the Department of Job and Family Services and the Children and Families Council. The addendum will extend the final date for invoice submissions from August 15, 2002 to August 31st, 2002.
So
Invoice.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Excuse me, invoices submitted for payment after August 31st, 2002 will not be considered for payment. I'd like to authorize the President or Vice President to execute on behalf of the Board.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Mrs. Vacy?
Aye.
Mrs. Blair?
Aye.
Mr. Moore?
Aye.
I'd like to reject all bids received for the landscaping package for the Lorain County Justice Center based upon the review and recommendation of RP Carboni Company.
So moved.
I'll second for discussion purposes. Mr. Cortez, do you want to expound upon this a little bit?
Very quickly, Commissioners, there was quite a bit of confusion upon the bidders' part, and we felt that while the bids were significantly under anticipated cost, that we would not be able to get the proper services that we required. It's problematic when bids are higher than anticipated, but it's also problematic when they're greatly under what we believe is the actual cost of doing the work. And that's why we need to reject them and rebid them. We believe there was a lot of confusion on the part of the bidders.
I guess my question would be, when do we anticipate rebidding?
We'll probably do it in the spring, and maybe even in the wintertime. We have time on this particular issue. It's a 100% local contract, so it's not going to cause any disruption with the project.
Thank you.
Here,
How many?
Why don't you keep expounding on that? You're saying that it was too low, so we're rebidding, or was it not are you trying to say that we didn't get the proper landscaping that you anticipated, or?
We don't believe the work that was bid at the level it was bid at was that they understood the scope of the specifications in the bid package, and then we had interviews with them, and it became clear that they misinterpreted the scope of work.
Everyone misinterpreted the scope of the work?
We only had 2 bids.
Really?
How many, Ron, do you recall, I believe it was 2 bids for the landscaping?
Really?
Yes. It was, the disparity in the bids was great. I don't have the actual sheets and tally sheets in front of me, but there was considerable confusion in what was being bid on and what wasn't being bid on. And upon evaluation by the construction manager, they felt that while clearly we could award the bid and try to hold people to a contract, that we wouldn't get the level of work that we required for the Justice Center.
We did advertise for this, didn't we?
We did, and we'll re-advertise, and once again, it's a 100% local bid, so it's not going to prejudice the matter for local contractors at all.
So we got a nice price, but we're going to go out and spend more money on landscaping.
Well, if you ask for a Crown Vic and they bid you an Escort, you got a nice price, but it's not the car you asked for.
No, but if that's all you can afford, then that's all you can afford.
Well, I think there's a little bit of a different issue here, though. I did read the paperwork that was in there, and it's not necessarily a matter of all you can afford as opposed to what we wanted, what was identified, and then what was actually bid on.
Right, that's what I was trying to get at originally, which is I thought, did they bid properly, or did they?
Well, once again, we don't believe they understood, and I'm not trying to be augmentative, I don't know how to...
No, I don't, I'm not thinking of that way.
We don't believe they understood the scope of work that they were bidding on, and we don't believe that they'll be able to perform the scope of work based upon interviewing. I mean, we went through the process with them. We met with them, they were interviewed, it was discussed. There were some elements that were missing in the bid. That's problematic, although it doesn't automatically become a
Well, that sounds a little
fatal
better.
error.
No, that sounds a lot better there than saying that, like bids that go in too high, these all bids came in too
But
low.
we see what happens with Commissioner, sometimes when bids come in and you got to be cautious when they're low, because and then we play the change order game.
No, that's fine.
During the scope of the work.
That's fine.
Okay. Sorry, I wasn't explaining it much clearer.
Mrs. Vacy?
Aye.
Mrs. Blair?
Aye.
Mr. Moore?
Aye.
Thank you.
I'd like to advertise for bids for the demolition of a building located at 209 Broad Street, Elyria, Ohio. Bids will be received until Monday, September 30th, 2002, at 2 p.m. here in the public hearing room. A pre-bid walkthrough will be held Monday, September 23rd, 2002, at 2 p.m. It is strongly suggested that all bidders participate in this walkthrough. We have to publish the notice in the Morning Journal and Chronicle Telegram on September 9th and 16th, 2002.
Is this the Moss property?
This
Former
is-
Moss property?
This is the former Moss restaurant on the corner of the property that we purchased about a month ago. We don't have title to the property yet. Commissioner Vacy spoke with me on this. We will have title to the property. I promise we won't knock down the building until we have the deed. But we're prepping up to be able to do this. I want to drop and clear the site and backfill the site before the weather gets really bad. And if we don't do this, start bidding now, we'll run out of time. I also have two other tertiary issues that you'll be seeing on this. One is we're going to be getting a cost proposal to extend our environmental review contract. Ron, you want to speak to that real quick?
We are presently under contract to do the environmental review on the intermodal site, and because this was purchased in part to provide parking and other benefits, we've asked the same contractor to extend or give us a proposal. The cost is not to exceed $5,000 to do an asbestos inspection of the two buildings that will remain on the site, the one the title company is in and the bowling alley. They're also, because they've already done the background check in the general area for the exterior site, the underground storage tanks and things like that, it'll only be $1,500 for the environmental review on the balance of the acreage. We will have that proposal ready for next week.
Balance of the acreage, what do you mean by that?
The land that you recently purchased from the library, it's $1,500 to do the exterior land around, where the gravel parking is and things like that, and then it'll be $3,500 to do an environmental review of the two buildings, including the asbestos portion of a phase one inside.
Is it necessary to do the land?
Yes. Yes, we have to make sure that there are no brownfield conditions or hazardous materials that have either been dumped or stored underground at any point. So
Should
need
we
to
do that before we sign the papers for the deed?
Well, we need the property regardless.
But if there's a cleanup there, we don't want to be responsible for it.
If we get that approved, this amendment, if the commissioners are willing to do this amendment and get that approved, they're willing to move and come in and do that assessment before the first week of October without any problems. They're ready to do that work now.
How long do you expect it will take?
They're supposed to be done by the end of the first week of October with their environmental review. And
What do you
we're
think, Jerry?
anticipating putting this on next week's agenda.
I'm not sure what your question is.
My question is, should we do the environmental review before we sign the papers for the property? I mean, especially the land, if there's any hazardous material on that land?
Well, what do we have left to sign on?
We, in our proposal, it was discussed that the library had done their due diligence on the property, and we were accepting the property at their cost and the condition that it was in. That was part of the proposal.
So in other words, if there's any cleanup, we'll be responsible for it. Shouldn't we know in advance if there is or not?
Once again, when we discussed the proposal, they were offering the property at their cost with the property in the condition that it was in. They did not identify any issues with the property, but they were not warranting the property free from any issues.
Well, that's my concern, because God only knows what was on that property before.
Well, there was a lumber
on
yard.
that vacant property.
There was a lumber yard on that property before for quite a few years. Doing an initial review of the businesses located there, we didn't have any concerns with the exterior property. There was some minor concern with PCBs on the inside of the intermodal transportation building because of possible contamination from the years gone by when they worked on heavy equipment in some of those areas. but that we already purchased the intermodal building. That's what we're going through right now. I don't believe we've discovered any PCBs as of
They've
yet.
given us a verbal clean bill on the intermodal, and as a part of that intermodal, they had to check that block to see if there was any suspicious areas that may need to be further investigated. They will do a more detailed investigation on these parcels that we just purchased, but the initial cut for the intermodal, including that block, was no suspicious areas were discovered from the historic records or interviews. For the intermodal itself, everything looks to be in good health. There is no PCBs. There is some lead-based paint that'll have to be abated and asbestos, but that'll be contained in the written report. There was concern what material was used in the tunnels under the track, and they've taken samples, but they feel that that basically was ash from coal that had been burned years ago, so that's not of suspicious origin either. So the report we anticipate receiving will be good for the intermodal.
And we're going to be redoing the buildings up on Broad Street with the exception of Morse's. We're budgeted for that, and we have money in the budget. And I anticipate, we'll be right up front with you, I anticipate some asbestos issues, specifically in the older bowling alley. There was no doubt that, that building's well over 100 years old, and we'll have to do an abatement project in that building, but we have to identify those issues. One of the things we already identified is that you don't pull the stairs down and whack yourself in the head with them.
Why is that, Mr. Cordes?
Because it hurts.
Knock some sense into you, too.
But we're just doing a little due diligence here, but we do really want to move quickly with dropping Morse's. It'll aesthetically clean up that area over there. The second part of that issue, Commissioners, was the fire department has asked if they can come over and knock the snot out of the building and practice on it when we get ready to drop it. They want to punch holes in it and climb up the side of it and chop holes in the roof. And I didn't see a problem with that, but I just wanted to inform you. They'll give us the proper releases and so forth. So a few days before we drop the building, after you let these bids there, you'll find that the building looks in worse condition than it is, because the fire department will be practicing on it.
Okay, I need a motion. We just got into discussion mode, so.
So moved.
I'll second.
Any more discussion? Mr. Moore?
Aye.
Mrs. Blair?
Aye.
Mrs. Vacy?
Aye. Are we including that $5,000 in this resolution?
No.
Not at this time. We'll bring you back cost
Okay.
for that. I'm hoping to recover a good portion of that, too, against the intermodal, because that parking lot will have some tertiary use to the intermodal hub. So if we get dollars, we'll try to recapture as many of those dollars as we can. We're going to stretch
And
the
you'll
road
let
back.
us know before we vote on that.
Absolutely.
Okay,
Thanks,
thanks.
Commissioner.
Okay, under the Community Development Department, number 15, we need to award contract to R.A. Joseph Construction Company of Avon Lake, Ohio, in the amount of $22,800 for the handicap curb ramps project in the city of Avon Lake. Engineer's estimate of cost was $21,000. Community Development Block Grant Funds will pay $21,000 of the project. The city of Avon Lake will pay the remaining balance of $1,800. This was the lowest and most responsive bid received, complying with specifications. The Community Development Director has reviewed and recommends approval.
I believe the Community Development Director jumped right up, so I think he has something to say.
With my apologies, we should have in here the tagline that says authorized president or vice president to execute on behalf. This is a contract the county will have with R.A. Joseph, not the city of Avon. So if we could add that to the resolution, we prepared that. It was our mistake. Thank you.
Also moved with those
Conditions?
conditions.
I'll second.
Any more discussion? Mr. Moore?
Aye.
Mrs. Blair?
Aye.
Mrs. Vacy?
Aye.
Under Domestic Relations Court, number 16, we need to approve the Domestic Relations Court Juvenile Division funding of $30,000, which will be requested from the Ohio Department of Job and Family Services. This funding will enable the court to continue the Access Visitation Program and provide mediation services for unwed and divorced parents to address visitation disputes, payment of uninsured medical expenses, or sharing of medical insurance information and documentation. The main goal of this program is to support and facilitate non-custodial parents' access to and visitation with their children, and to encourage parents to pay child support.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Mrs. Vacy?
Aye.
Mrs. Blair?
Aye.
Mr. Moore?
Aye.
Also on the next page, continuing with Domestic Relations Court, number 17, to approve the Lorain County Juvenile Court's request for a signature waiver allowing John Rocasey, our budget director, to the ability to sign financial reports. Two of the court's programs will not be funded through approved grants until a signature waiver is on file.
Also move.
Second.
Discussion? Mrs. Blair?
Aye.
Mrs. Vacy?
Aye.
Mr. Moore?
Aye.
Under the County Engineer, item number 18, to approve and enter into agreement between the Board of Commissioners and K.E. McCartney and Associates Incorporated from Elyria, Ohio, in the amount of $11,110 for consulting services on the East River Road Laterals project. The project consists of the southeast sanitary interceptor sewer plans along East River Road, where it goes from Fuller Road to Chester Ridge Road.
So moved.
I'll second.
Discussion?
Yes. Will this funding come from the Engineers Department, sanitary engineer?
No, Commissioner, that funding will come from us. This is the East River sewer that we discussed, I want to say about 6 or 7 weeks ago, where the sewer was put in, but none of the laterals were added. A constituent was here. She couldn't sell her house because of the mandate that they tap into the sewer if the properties are sold. I think a waiver was granted in that particular instance, and the board requested that I work with the sanitary engineer to come back with a proposal to put the laterals in and possibly complete that sewer over here on East River. This is a proposal to do that engineering work and bring that back, some of the preliminary work that needs to be done to bring it back to the board for you to decide whether you want to go ahead and do a project over it on East River. The sanitary engineer doesn't have funding for these type of projects. This is recoverable funds. What we would do is, similar to other sewer projects, I would work with the budget director to start identifying these costs. We would keep track of them. Because this isn't significant, we probably wouldn't do a note now, but when we do the assessments and the recovery, all these costs will be recovered against potential installation of the laterals and the completion of that sewer sometime in the future, just like any revenue generating bond. So we're actually advancing these funds right now, and they can be recovered against the project cost. Normally, it's a lot more money because the sewer isn't in the ground, so you would have $80 or $90 or $100,000 worth of planning work that you'd be paying for, and we may even do a temporary note at that point to fund that issue. But because the sewer is already there and we're just dealing with the laterals, the planning work wasn't that significant in the cost.
Do we know why the laterals weren't put in when the sewer was put in?
There was an arrangement made a few years back with the City of Elyria. The City of Elyria wanted to sewer an area on the other side of this particular place, and they agreed to incorporate a new service area, which encompassed this area, but they just didn't put the laterals in when they crossed over that area. Jerry, you were involved with that.
Right. We had the ability to negotiate with them and in effect mandate them to allow us to tie in, but we had no authority to order them or tell them how to construct their sewers, for instance, what size they wanted to do, and they decided not to put the laterals in.
Now, you know, while this issue's on the table, I also have 5 other potential sewer projects I'm working on with the sanitary engineer. You'll be seeing some of those in the coming weeks. Callahan, Michigan, Southwood, Columbia Township. We're working on the tributary plan there. There's an issue in Wellington. We're also working on completing the study on the Eaton Township spray irrigation system. I'm missing one. There's another one on my docket that I was requesting information for, but we have several that we're starting to invigorate, and we need to start spacing them out. The one I had on my desk was over for Sheffield Township that I just requested additional information on. That's going to be for your review. It almost was on the docket this week, but it'll be on next week. It's for $90,000. to do the work necessary to put a sewer in right off of Northridge in Sheffield Township. I think you were involved in some of that when we would, the people were in here and you worked with the sanitary engineers. It's been going on for about 2 years. We got a letter from the city agreeing to allow flow from that 208 planning area, but I didn't particularly like the letter. I wanted an ordinance, or I wanted a contract with an ordinance approving the contract, so that we don't repeat some past issues that have caused us some distress. But you may be seeing that as soon as next week, and we need to track them as individual projects, so once the sewers are in the ground, we can recover all these costs. We probably need to start looking at having about $1 million or $1.5 million worth of funds established to start rolling these projects. The funds will be recovered, but it'll be on a rolling basis. If we're going to start really stepping up, and you know that the EPA is really coming down on some of this stuff. When I was over in the backyard in Callahan in Michigan, we're probably going to get a letter from vis-a-vis the health department and EPA saying that it's a public safety hazard over there, and we're going to have no choice but to put a sewer over there. And we have one of them in Amherst Township going on right now, where we're working with trying to get some CDBGs on low to moderate income. Ron's been working on that. It looks like we're going to, in the next couple months into the next year or two, we're going to have to do quite a few sewer projects.
Do you know, getting back to this one, do you know how many residents there are? How many laterals will be needed?
I believe from our discussions, Jack, was it about 60? 50?
50.
Thank you. Have I explained things pretty well here, Jack?
After these laterals, Jack, after the laterals are put on, can you come up to the mic, please? And identify yourself.
Jack Januzzi, Lorain County Sanitary Engineer's Office.
Jack, after the laterals are put in, what happens? The residents, will they have 2 years to tie in? Is it?
That would be up to the health department to enforce the tie-ins, I would imagine. Once the sewer was in, they'd probably they'd send them a notification letter requesting them to tie in, and what they usually do is give them about 6 months, and after the initial request, then they would send them a letter enforcing the tie-ins and give them 120 days. That's their usual.
When I spoke with Mr. Pierce, he indicated to me that they would probably be mandating tie-ins of any available sewer within 6 months. He was at the meeting when we were talking about the Callahan, Michigan area, and Jack was out in the backyard that day too. So I think 6 years is the minimum, and then they start the process. 6 months is the minimum. Then they start the process, but it may take up to 2 years before the process can be completed on a forced tie-in.
Okay, thanks, Jack.
Thank you.
Any more discussion? Mrs. Vacy?
Aye.
Mrs. Blair?
Aye.
Mr. Moore?
Aye.
Under sanitary engineers, number 19, we need a resolution to certify the delinquent sanitary sewer accounts to the Lorain County Auditor for collection on tax duplicate for the year 2002, collection in the year 2003.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Mrs. Vacy?
Aye.
Mrs. Blair?
Aye.
Mr. Moore?
Aye.
Number 20, to authorize the Lorain County Auditor to levy special assessments for water line maintenance within various county sewer districts for the tax duplicate year 2002, collectible in the year 2003.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Mrs. Vacy?
Aye.
Mrs. Blair?
Aye.
Mr. Moore?
Aye. Since we're still under sanitary engineer, Mr. Cortez, we keep talking about the health department doing this, health department doing that, and it's reminding me of an unfunded mandate for people.
Yeah, it's forced.
Is there a way, I gave you some information last week, is there a way that you could work with the auditor's office and the engineer's office, or sanitary engineer's office, and the health department to come up with some of that information I gave you, and maybe get back to us on a way to get everybody working together to figure out a way to make this affordable for everybody?
Well, certainly, some of the information you gave me, you wanted to set up a revolving loan fund.
Yeah. But I think we should get everybody involved for the communication so that the auditor's involved, the sanitary engineer, and the health department.
I can accomplish
It'd be better
that.
to find out now instead of later if it cannot be done, instead of wasting too much energy.
I'll have that done within the next 2 or 3 weeks.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, under the Job and Family Services Department, number 21, we need to approve and enter into purchase of service contract with the Department of Job and Family Services and the Working for Empowerment through Community Organizing, that's WECO, for fiscal year 2003, for maintaining accounts for first-time home buyers or business startup costs for clients at 150% of poverty as TANF funding. Contract is effective September 9th, 2002 through June 30th, 2003, in the amount not to exceed $1,744. And I need to make a change on this last sentence. We need to authorize Mary Lugolsky, Director, Lorain County Department of Job and Family Services, to execute the addendums on behalf of the Commissioners with the prosecutor's approval as to form.
So moved.
I think Mary Lou.
Yeah, I just wanted to move on
Okay,
for
I'll
this
second.
point of discussion.
Now we're in a discussion. You might as well
Okay.
come on up and talk if you want. Or, I don't think she's happy with the amendment for the...
That addendum was for the wellness.
Oh, for the wellness one?
Right.
That was item number 12.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
sorry.
21, 12.
They told me WECO, so it's okay. Sorry, I apologize.
Do we need to change number 12 then, or?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, so you don't want
Let's
to...
finish this one first.
What do we want, with or without the addendum, or, I guess there is no addendum on
Not
this
on
one,
this
is
one?
there?
No, there's no
So
addendum.
we need to authorize the President or Vice President to execute on behalf of the Board on number 21. Okay.
So we have a motion and a second on that
Okay,
one.
since I made the motion, I will amend it to
I'll s-
to include that Mrs. Golsky signed.
No.
No, not on this one.
No, on number 12, I was going
No.
back and adjusting it.
Oh, we got a motion.
Let's do this one.
We do this
Yeah,
one
let's finish
first, and
this
then
one
go
up,
back?
and then we'll go back to the other one.
Doesn't matter to me.
Yeah.
Okay, Mrs. Vacy? On number 21.
I wanted to discuss this. I asked
Oh, okay,
Mary
I'm
Lou
sorry.
if she would explain the program.
WECO is a organization out of Cleveland. They manage accounts for clients at 150% of poverty. The client can save between $25 a month up to $100 a month. The organization then matches those dollars, and it's to be applied to a purchase of a first-time home or a start up a business account. We currently have 19 participants, so this contract would just be for maintaining those 19. We're not accepting any new applicants for this program. The match money of about $45,000 has been donated by Nord Family Foundation, the Stocker Foundation, and the Community Foundation. And it's a 2-for-1 match. So for every dollar, it's matched. Okay? Any other questions?
No, thank you. I just thought it would be good for the public to understand this.
Thank you.
Okay, Mrs. Vacy?
Aye.
Mr. Moore?
Aye.
Mrs. Blair?
Aye.
You want to go back to item 12 and correct my mistake? I'm sorry.
Okay.
And that would be to authorize Mary Lou Golsky, Director, Lorain County Department of Job and Family Services, to execute addendums on behalf of the Commissioners with prosecutor's approval as to form.
Okay, I move to amend the resolution
I'll second.
to include that.
Okay, more discussion? Mrs. Vacy?
Aye.
Mrs. Blair?
Aye.
Mr. Moore?
Aye.
Mr. Chairman, may I just direct a statement to Mary Lou Golsky? Mary Lou, I know that you've talked to Jim Cordes about Title 20 and community care in North Ridgeville, and I would like to publicly ask you to do anything you can to assist that wonderful operation there. And I have names of people that you could contact if you would be so kind as to do that, and I would very much appreciate that. Kelly Glenn from the Community Development Department and I visited community care a couple weeks ago, and they are in need of some assistance, and we're trying to do whatever we can within the framework of what we're permitted to do. So I just wanted to publicly ask that.
Sure, I'll give your secretary a call.
Thank you.
The phone number.
Thank you very much.
My understanding is they need about 50,000. Is that what you heard? And assistance?
Well, I don't think they defined a dollar amount,
did
but
they?
they're looking to enhance their operations,
Right.
particularly to pay for the building.
Right.
But I'm not sure that that's within the framework of what we can do. But there are other things that I think we can do to help them
Help
in the
assist them?
assistance that
Okay.
they give. So maybe that will free up some monies that they have to go back
Right.
to using them for actual brick and mortar type things.
Okay, good.
Okay, comments, reports, Mr. Cordez, Administrator?
Two brief issues. First one, well, both of them are very positive. I hope you saw that our steel is going up on our building as you drive by.
Domestic steel?
It's domestic
Oh,
steel.
okay, just checking.
We have a lot of black spray paint too. No, but it's a very positive sign. Things are on track with your Justice Center. It's looking good. The steel going up actually now starts to look like a building. So we're progressing nicely, and for our constituents out there, everything is on track, and we haven't hit anything that has delayed the project. So things are good with the Justice Center. I just wanted to give that update on that. And the other thing is to remind people that we have our memorial ceremony and ribbon cutting ceremony next Wednesday, 10 o'clock. I want everybody's welcome to come out. The Lorain County trolley will be running shuttles from the grass parking lot on Chestnut to 911 if parking becomes a problem. I believe it will be a problem. We're going to have a big turnout. So if they park on Chestnut, the trolley will be going back and forth to shuttle people to and fro. So I would like everybody to come out and spend some time with us next Wednesday morning for our services. That's all I have this morning, Commissioner. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Assistant County Prosecutor, Mr. Ennis?
I have several litigation issues that I need to update the commissioners about, so I would like to have an executive session regarding those matters.
Commissioners report?
I have nothing this morning.
What's number one for you, or?
Yes. Oh, well,
Trying to read that for you? I don't know if you're going to...
Pardon me?
Want me to read that item for you?
yeah, which case?
Sure. On a Commissioner's report, Commissioner Vassy has been appointed to serve as a member of the National Association of Counties Environment, Energy, and Land Use Steering Committee through July of 2003. The full committee will meet in Washington, D.C. at the NACO Legislative Conference February 28th through March 4th, 2003, and at the annual conference in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, July 11th through 15th of 2003.
Okay,
Thank you.
that's good. Commissioner Blair, do you have anything?
Yes, thank you. Yesterday, the Ohio Public Works District 9 Executive Committee met. That's Medina, Huron, and Erie, Lorain counties. And they reappointed 4 members to serve on the National Resource Assistance Council, including myself, Jeff Van Loon from Ohio Department of Natural Resources, Thomas James from Medina County, and Ron Twining from Lorain County. And we're having a round 1B because we did not disperse all the $1.5 million that was allocated to us for this year. The applications are due tomorrow at 4 p.m. To my administrative assistant, Joyce Parks. We have one from the city of Amherst, and we will be receiving one from one of the other communities. I forget which one it was yesterday. But anyway, that meeting transpired. We are legitimate. These reappointments are for a 4-year term, I believe. No, 3 years. 4 members to 3-year terms, so that will make us legal. And then the second thing I'd like to mention is that yesterday I got to attend the press conference for the Tall Ships Festival that was held at the port in Lorain, and it was exciting. And I got to tour the Red Witch. Got that? The Red Witch. Thank you, Bob.
I figured Bob.
And it was, well, this is it's going to be the official flagship for the Ohio Bicentennial, and it was there yesterday, and it was really neat. So anyway, I was excited to be there. I'm excited that the commissioners had a part in the Grove Site project itself, and it was just really neat. So
Really turned out beautiful down there, didn't it?
it's wonderful. And they're going to have, as you know, and it's in the paper, but I just think it wouldn't hurt to mention, the Main Street downtown is hosting Perch and Rib Festival this Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And also our Pioneer Days is going on at Mill Hollow. So there's lots of exciting things going on in Lorain County this weekend, so come on out and enjoy. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right, that's a good segue for what I was going to say, which is Main Street Elyria has just appointed a new Assistant Associate Director, Philip Van Truren. I see he's in the audience. I just want to say hi. Would you like to make a statement or anything, or just... Okay, as most of you probably recognize him, he used to hang out here quite a bit, but he was wearing a different hat, I believe, as a reporter. So.
Yeah, I see he's got a suit on today.
Yeah, I know, it's the first time.
I made
Yeah.
a note of that at the
I
beginning
see,
of the
yeah.
agenda. Here, he
I
had a
see
suit
his-
on.
I see his scores brag because he doesn't have to wear a suit. He's just comfortable, so. But welcome, and congratulations. That's all I had to say.
Okay. Under old business, item number 1, to approve and enter into an implementation contract between the Board of Commissioners, County Auditor, County Treasurer, and Frank Seringer and Cheney Incorporated, CPA, for the Governmental Accounting Standards Board Number 34, Basic Financial Statements and Managers Discussion and Analysis for State and Local Governments. Fees are in the estimated amount of $67,500, for which estimated fees excludes out-of-pocket expenses, which will be billed separately.
Mr. Chairman, also moved for discussion purposes.
Second.
Okay, discussion.
Yep. Probably need to apologize to the auditor. See, maybe I should have talked to the treasurer too, have him come up, huh? But I do thank you for coming up.
I know there was some discussion at last week's board meeting about this GASB 34 implementation. And I know that the Audit Review Committee, which I think Mrs. Blair is the chair, and Mr. Cordez and Mr. Rokasi have been attending numerous meetings in the year 2001, and past Audit Review Committee meetings in 2000 have discussed this GASB 34. What is GASB 34? It's a Governmental Accounting Standard Board rule. This is an unfunded mandate that comes from the Governmental Accounting Standards Board that they want to see these types of accounting functions into your financial statements. We're talking about roads and infrastructure, bridges, guardrails, street signs, culverts, and right-of-ways. This implementation was passed by this board in probably 1999, June or so, with much discussion. After they've implemented this in June of '99, they've already changed it with a GASB 37 pronouncement. So it's like buying a Microsoft program that you never buy 3.0, you buy 3.6 or 3.3. They find bugs within those pronouncements, and we are trying to implement and get our arms around that with the cooperation of Mr. Carney. Because that's where most of this infrastructure accounting is coming from, and he's doing a great job. We've been out there for over a year and a half discussing these types of items with Mr. Carney and John Rokasi, of course. This has been part of a 5-year plan that was bid with an RFP with Gary Fink and Associates. And Frank Seringer and Cheney was part of that process in which we needed to have our comprehensive annual financial report run parallel with the audit. And so we have a lot of accountants working on these things. We're trying to make them open and transparent for the public. And I think it's important to know that anybody that has over $100 million of revenues, and the county has over, I think, 100, Craig Snodgrass, our chief deputy on the finance side, says 154 million. We are obligated to do that. Your federal funds are at risk if we do not implement this this pronouncement. And I think this was brought at our bond rating councils. I think John Rokasi had mentioned this up in New York with Mr. Cordez and Mr. Moore, that they asked, are we going to be implementing this GASB 34? This was right on the table for the bond rating. And we've worked too long and too hard, all previous boards, and 6 years of financial reporting excellence. Everybody's working together on this, and we need to have this pronouncement paid for and obligated. We think it's probably a one-time kind of charge in which we would try to get our arms around this in a one-period contract. Other counties I know have implemented a thing where they hired someone, but there may be a sunset here. Are you going to hire somebody for 16 months and then let them go after you get your arms around these main infrastructures? It's the past infrastructure that needs to be to be looked at and accounted for. So this is an unfunded mandate. I don't really like that either, but it's vitally important to the county that we get this done. Frank Seringer and Cheney, their staff is well qualified. They've done a large number of governmental works. They've worked at the airport and so on. They've been working with the county for 2 years on the comprehensive annual financial report. We would not have to teach someone exactly what we're trying to do here. They are on board with us, and they are happy to, try to get us qualified on this. So.
And Carney's office is doing all the
Well,
infrastructure for the engineering part, like the...
Well, that's where a lot of these records are, because you're talking about
No, I know that's
county
where-
roadways, all of those. I understand we had a little bit of a rain trouble out there with some of the records. We had some roof problems, but we're going to try. Those records are maintained quite a bit at the county engineer's office.
Okay. So is he going to be doing all, I mean...
Well, he has to dedicate some staff there, just as we are dedicating staff. With our GASB 34 pronounced GASB 33, which was just implemented this last year in 2001, on grants and local government and taxes, we absorb that cost within our own office with our own personnel and the aid of other personnel in other departments. So some of these GASB pronouncements you can absorb and work on yourself.
That's why I was wondering if...
This,
You
Carney's
can't-
going to have to give us somebody to work on all of this ourselves. We're going to try to do some of this work ourselves and try to keep these costs down.
Well, that's why I was wondering if you even need to hire somebody out of your firm, or if the auditor could actually do the whole thing internally.
Well, no, we cannot do that internally. This pronouncement is just too large. It's going to take a one-time shot to try to get our arms around this. So, Ken Carney's going to have to help us. He's going to have to dedicate somebody to work with Craig Snodgrass and Lily. And
No, I understand that, but that's for the infrastructure. This doesn't deal, from what I read in the contract, had nothing to do with the infrastructure yet. This is just basically building your foundation for accounting.
No, this absolutely does.
Not the way, where's the contract? Because the way I read it, it didn't say anything about the infrastructure. It was phases. I don't have it in front of me. Do you have the contract? I think it had phase 2.
Well,
what
I'll let
phase
Craig
is it?
Snodgrass...
Yeah, Craig knows about it. He's the one that wrote the memo. He knows more.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Can you wait until we see? Because my understanding was, let me see. I want to make sure I'm right on this. Let's see. It is. No, it's a financial statement. Sorry. Okay, go ahead. Sorry about that.
Actually, infrastructure is a small component, or actually a very large component of the financial statements under GASB 34. So again, this won't specifically state infrastructure. I believe if you have the contract there, it's talking about government-wide financial statements and so forth. The infrastructure is actually embodied or involved with those statements. So it doesn't say infrastructure, but that's
No.
really what that means.
It says basically you're creating a new model, which I do agree with this. I think we have, although we have to do it, I think it's a great thing personally. But the way this reads is this new model requires at a minimum the basic financial statements of the government include the management's discussion and analysis, government-wide financial statements and fund financial statements, and notes to the financial statements. And then number 4, and maybe this is where it's at, RSI, other than MD and A.
And
That's the 4.
actually-
Those are the 4 issues. Then it goes down to the next paragraph and talks about 3 phases that are mandated. So now, explain to me that.
Actually,
maybe.
infrastructure is within the financial statements themselves. That is a component of it. There are a number of issues with GASB 34. One part is infrastructure, another part is management discussion and analysis. There's also where we have to determine major funds. So basically, what we have to do is take...
No, that's fine. No, you answered the question, which is the infrastructure then is included in this
Correct.
phase. Okay.
We're going to try to maintain our costs and keep them down by doing as much in-house as we possibly can. Each year it's been a progressive, it's been progressive every year since we've been doing this since 1995. We've done more and more in-house. Again, that's where really, just came back from a GASB 34 seminar from a couple weeks ago, and even the statements there, this is the single largest, single most change to financial reporting for governments. And no matter how proficient you are at what you're doing, you really need this outside help, because really you're redoing 2001's financials, plus getting ready for the 2002 financials, plus this additional work. And we have been preparing for it for a number of years.
GASB can also affect our bond rating through Moody's, right?
Very much so. If we do not implement GASB 34, we will receive a qualified audit. There's no questions about that. We receive the qualified opinion. The bond companies will look on that very unfavorably.
Well, GASB 34 requirements are brand new, and consequently there is no history to reference the future work and the related costs that will be necessary. So I feel that there should be some amendments to this resolution. I'm going to read what I have, my thoughts for the amendments, and then I'll go one at a time, and then you can answer or add to.
Well,
Number
this
one.
is for discussion, right?
Yes,
Okay, this is-
but I
okay.
want to hear what
Craig has to say.
Craig or Mark has to say. I think that there should be a not-to-exceed clause of $67,500 because we don't know how much this can go one way or the other.
Part of that is being addressed actually through our monthly audit review meetings. We had our post-audit June 25th on the past year's financials. We've had a meeting July 23rd, August 20th, and we have an upcoming meeting September 17th. That is part of this audit review process, which again, like I said, is a member from the board, the county auditor, the county treasurer, and I believe Mr. Innes has represented the prosecutor's office there as well. That is part of this audit review committee process to review the contract, to get updates.
I understand that, Craig. I'm just saying that I would like to see this included in the resolution.
Would there be a problem if in fact it read not to
No,
exceed?
that's not a problem.
All right. and
Yes, that's
then-
what she's doing.
Yes. And then number 2, require the firm to provide to the commissioners a written report on the progress, the number of hours, financial status, and the estimated future cost, either after the first quarter or after 300 hours, whichever comes first. In other words, a progress report from the firm.
That shouldn't be a problem. Again, as I started to
Okay.
state at the audit review meetings, we were going to require that anyway, so.
Okay. Define the estimate, what out-of-pocket cost is. Well, I asked you to do that, and you did give me the information on that, so that was satisfying to me, but I would like to include that in the resolution. Clarify whether or not the $67,500 figure is the estimated, well, that is the estimated cost for the entire project. Is this the entire project, or is there another phase coming after this $67,500?
I believe at this point, this is only for GASB 34, yes, just the project.
But is this one phase of GASB 34, or is this, that's it?
Well, I would say that we're not really sure what's going to happen. GASB 37 changed the pronouncement anyway of GASB 34. So who knows, after our large governmental bodies start to make these reports, they could shift the sands a little bit and say, well, we really don't want this, or we would like this included. So I would say we're going to do our best not to exceed this amount of money. We don't anticipate anything further, but the GASB pronouncements have been changing. So we think that this is a one-time kind of
Okay,
operation.
thank you. Okay. Do you expect any future additional costs from this GASB? I guess you just answered that for me. You hope that this is it. And this encompasses the entire project.
Was that it on that?
That's it. Okay,
Now,
thanks.
when you talked about going back to the past, are you saying that it's already been done up to a certain point, or they haven't started yet? Because you said this has been an ongoing process since '99.
Well, again, a little history on this. Many of our financial accounts, we sometimes hear people say, why do we have so many accounts in our Oracle system,
Right.
for instance? A lot of that has been preparatory work to get a more finite detail of our expenditures and revenues. And that all kind of rolls into this GASB 34. Again, I have received a great deal of records from John Hamilton out at the engineer's office. It's been very, very helpful. And like I said, I would have probably had most of the records had the roof not fell in. So we did have plaster falling on our heads the other day.
Is that where the gray came from?
That's where the part came.
But we have started to put together, in fact, again, you're always more than welcome to attend the audit review meetings. We've been trying to keep people as informed as possible. I've gone through the financials. I started to state earlier that we have major funds. That's part of this new reporting model. We have to declare major funds, and there are certain percentages you have to meet for revenues, expenses, assets, liabilities. So I've put that list together already. That's with our auditors now, Gary Fink and Associates. They're reviewing it. It's a lot of communication that needs to take place here, and we're trying to keep people as informed as possible. So we have been doing work all along.
Okay, but you haven't started yet then, because you're saying the past.
No, we have,
That's what I was trying to get at.
we have expended time, energy, and
Right, okay.
manpower all along since probably early 2000 on this issue,
Okay.
internally.
Okay,
But
that's what I
this-
was trying to get at, I guess.
And now we're trying to pass it off to the auditors, because ultimately they will be the ones issuing the opinion. So we have to work with them as well.
Which, you mean?
External auditors.
Thank you, I was like.
State auditors, yes.
We got a lot of-
Okay, and you said this went for an RFP?
This was not put out for an RFP, no.
But you or Craig said that. Who said
There
that?
were, there
He
were,
said
there were
initially.
previous RFPs put out for Gary Fink and Associates and the accounting portions of it. And the CAFR portions were put out for Frank Seringer and Cheney to comply with those audit things.
On the
So this
CAFR?
is-
The CAFR
on the
website?
CAFR thing, on the CAFR
Oh.
thing.
So this is new, so this wasn't done with an RFP? You guys
No.
just because you've already dealt with them with the CAFR,
Well,
that's why?
And I believe it is also part of the actual contract we had with both Fink and with Frank Seringer that GASB 34 would be
Addressed
addressed.
in those previous
Well, no,
contracts 5
No,
years ago.
well, yeah, but that, all that said was like, you're gonna address GASB 34, right? That's what that bid said, so. Okay, now I just had an issue with the cost of this, that's all.
Well, I think the firm has been familiar with the people involved, and not only that, the financing, the
And I
county's
think
budget, and
one thing that should be noted, if you looked at any of the buildings that came from Frank Seringer and Cheney, they took their lunch on a couple of these early contracts. In other words, they expended more money and time, but we did not pay them any additional than the original contract. You can be assured that 67.5 is it. And if they expend more money at this point in time, someone's going to have to do an explanation.
Okay.
But they have billed us for CAFR work in excess of that, and they've agreed to eat that cost.
Well,
they've
yeah,
think
been a
they've
very
been good
honest
citizens.
and,
Yeah, I don't blame
yeah,
them.
they have. They've been a very honest and really good firm with us.
yeah. No, I have nothing against the firm. I just have a problem with the lack of an RFP on this issue, that's all. I mean, I think the auditor, we gotta do this, and this is a great thing, I think, for the county, so.
Any other questions? Can we take a vote?
Well, before we take a vote, Commissioner Vacy, I think that you asked that the wording be changed to, instead of fees are in an estimated amount, that fees not to exceed $67,500.
Right.
Okay?
I will give a copy of this to the clerk so that she can include them.
Well,
If you want to amend your motion to include them.
well, that's where I'm going.
Did you want me to go over them again?
No, I'm in agreement with items number 1, 2, and 3. On item number 4, you asked for clarification about another phase, and I don't believe that's relevant to this motion.
Well, they already clarified it.
Okay, so then 4 is out,
Mhm.
and 5, there was no 5. So I'll agree to amending my motion to approve with the first 3 stipulations that you set forward.
Second that.
Any more discussion? Mrs. Blair?
Aye.
Mrs. Vacy?
Aye.
Mr. Moore?
No,
Okay. Any other old business?
thanks for coming up, though, I appreciate it.
Any other old business? New business?
None here.
None.
I have none.
Board correspondence?
I move the reading be waived.
Second.
Mrs. Blair?
Aye.
Mr. Moore?
Aye.
Mrs. Vacy?
Aye.
Public comment?
Does anybody have anything publicly they wish to state? Good morning, Bob. We missed you last week. We missed you last week.
Well, I had other things to attend to.
And that doesn't count into your 3 minutes either.
Well, I went into, good morning. Sorry I wasn't here last week or the week before. I guess everybody wasn't here, so it's only 1 week that I missed, so you can't dock me too much. Truth is stranger than fiction. Today I found out humor is stranger than fiction when we spoke of a photo opportunity I missed out on. Had to do with the Red Witch, and it's true.
We can
But
go back today, Bob.
I do intend to go down there today. Anyhow, while I was on vacation, I ran across the Bay City Times, and I saw something there that recalled a previous meeting when we were talking about possibly 5 commissioners. Bay City has got 7 commissioners. I don't know if that's a record or not, but they are up for recall.
Michigan.
7 of them.
They have different statues up there.
I understand that. Different statues, different strokes, different folks, but 7 at a time, that's a gang.
It's too many people. They can't decide on anything.
I believe that. That's why I say if there's one person, only one commissioner, one person,
Oh,
boy,
no.
if he makes a mistake,
Oh,
you
no.
know who made the mistake. There's no finger pointing. You, when one finger points in one direction, there's 3 pointing back at you. So that's something about accountability.
But we need checks and balances, Bob.
Right along this line, this came in my yesterday newspaper. It's Lorain Journal, but it's not the Larry Chronicle, but it states something that I have been aware of, that it seems that everybody's had their head in the sand, and lately some news is coming out. It says in anticipation of a sudden and sharp decline in state funding for the library in July from the state, that the library has eliminated 7 positions as a result of this reorganization, and 2 positions were reduced in full-time to part-time, which means you're not going to get as many dollars out of Lorain library employees working either. It's a doubling effect. It's sort of like the churning effect. In fact, it is the churning effect in reverse. The churning effect is called the multiplier effect in Fairbanks. Okay, we just spent a measly $200,000 for a Stairway to the Stars glass staircase. This, transposed times 7, is $1.4 million benefit to St. Louis, or a $1.4 million loss to Lorain County. These dollars come from, of all things, the people, the people's annual report, financial report. The people have only got one voice. They don't come to these meetings. I wish more people would come to these meetings, and this is what's needed. However, I've talked to several people who have written letters to the Chronicle Telegram. Uh-oh. Hey, you can vote. You don't have to come here. Get an absentee vote and vote. And then, possibly, we'll know what your opinion is of having your voice heard in Lorain County. I mean, get an absentee ballot if you are 62 years or older, you are a disabled voter, you'll be absent from the county on election day, you expect to be hospitalized on election day, you're a polling place official, or other, and you can specify. So please, vote. I got that from Lorain County Fair. Thank you. Bye.
What about institutional hours?
That too.
Mr. Chairman, may I just piggyback on Mr. Kish's remarks? I have a cousin who lives in Florida, and they have 5 county commissioners where he lives, and 4 of them have been indicted for misdeeds, and all 4 of those commissioners have been replaced by Governor Bush.
You make that sound like that's a bad thing.
I made a comment and a statement, okay? Yeah, it's a bad thing that they were indicted.
And it's a good thing that Governor Bush got to a point. That's what you were saying. I just appreciate that comment.
How interesting that you would
Perceive it
feel
that way?
Yes, but the point is that Ohio Revised Code is clearly different from laws in the other states.
Especially Bay City, Michigan. It's a whole other city.
Never mind.
Don't even go there. We don't want to have a public discussion on that right now.
I was just going to mention the governor. I wasn't going to mention him by name. I'm sorry that I referred to him by name. I'm just sure everybody knows who he is.
I'm sorry, Elizabeth. We're up here having a conversation. My apologies.
Didn't want to interrupt.
You were enjoying the fun, huh?
Elizabeth Brumix, Oberlin, Ohio. This is pure curiosity on my part, but given all of the comments made about the necessity of this gas B34, I am just curious as to why Mr. Moore voted no.
Because I made the statement that I believe we should have sent out for RFPs on that. I think that's the fees were too excessive for the taxpayers. I mean, if you heard what I said, I believe in it. I think it's a great way, and I have a nice article if anybody would like a copy of it, done in 1999 regarding GASB. You feel free to get a copy of it because it explains it in more detail. Now that I understood it, it's a way to get the country on a whole on the same accounting problems. I think the best headline I saw was on Enron and WorldCom that the biggest violator of cooking the books is the U.S. government. So I think it's a good phase for the U.S. government to force everybody, even though it's an unfunded mandate, I think it's a necessity that we are all on the same books. I just feel that this should have been RFP'd out because I think $67,500 is too much money. I have talked to other local companies or areas. They've told me it's a lot smaller amounts. I don't want to publicly say it, but if people want to call other municipalities that are completed already, they've already done with this. These are other areas that they have, smaller communities have longer times to complete GASB 34. Since we're over 100 million, like the auditor said, we do have more time to complete it. But I know there's communities in this county that are already completed and they're only waiting for the infrastructure. And so that's why some of my questions were geared towards if the county engineer was doing everything internal, how much can the auditor's office do internally? And so that's why I just didn't support the price. I do support the project, I just don't support the price. So sorry for not making that clear.
But that is just an estimate, and
No, it's a contract we're signing.
No, it said not, our approval was not to exceed.
Not to
yeah,
exceed that.
but that's an estimate, and that they may not use all that. And I think that I know that they won't probably use all that because they've been working with the county, and it shouldn't exceed.
All right. Is there
But
any,
I don't think it'll go over.
is there any other public comment? Seeing none, I move to executive session.
Second?
Mr. Moore?
Aye.
Mrs. Blair?
Aye.
Mrs. Vacy?
Aye.